up in England, the daughter of Indian immigrants. The spring that I turn 11, there is violence in Brixton, an area outside London. On TV, I see pictures of dark-skinned people, some who look like me, police and skinheads clashing. My father tells my brother and me not to worry about anything because we actually don't live anywhere interesting. We don't live anywhere near London. So we go about doing our thing. We are Hindu, we are vegetarian, and in our house, when a bug gets in, we don't kill it, we just take it outside. So that same spring, a gigantic wasp gets in the house. The stinger is visible to the naked eye. My mother rolls up a newspaper, asks God for forgiveness, and does what she has to do. She gives the weapon to my father. My father does not take it. He walks right up to the wasp, cups his hand around it, and simply walks it outside. Then he turns back and looks at me and my brother. I am your father. My job is to put things where they belong, including you two monkeys. Well, my brother and I actually don't mind being insulted right now because we just got that our father, skinny, Indian accent, thick glasses, kind of little shoulders, that man, he might be badass. Later that spring, we're coming home one night, we get off the bus, and the only thing we have to do to get home is cross the street and walk about 10 houses down. The problem is that on this night, there are about 15 young men across the street directly in our path. They have shaved heads. Some of them have swastikas on their armbands. Skinheads. As soon as they see us, they start to shout, "Go home! Go back to where you came from. We hate you." And to my mother, who is draped in a sari, take it off. My mother takes my hand and my brother's hand, and she walks away from home, away from the skinheads. My father stops at Apru Ghar Amche. Our house is that way. And he points right into the center of the wasp nest of skinheads. And a young man in the middle looks right back at my father. At that, my father steps across the street so sure, so fast that the skinheads actually make way for him. He puts his face right into the face of the young man, and I see for the first time what my father is seeing. That's our neighbor. Good God, Frank, does your father know you're here? My dad just turns around, he grabs my hand, he grabs my brother's hand, and he walks us home right through the skinheads. The next day, my dad gets up, he has his cup of tea, and he says, I am going to the neighbor's house. My mom, she asks him to drop it. Come on, just let it go, okay? Just leave it alone. No. So my father goes to talk to the neighbor. A few hours later, the doorbell rings. I'm looking down from my window, and I can see who's there. It is Frank. He's not wearing his skinhead jacket, just his school uniform, actually. My father opens the door. He asks him if he wants tea. Frank accepts. They talk for a while, and Frank apologizes. He's actually blushing. He looks just like an ordinary boy. No stinger. My dad puts his hand on his back and gently walks him outside. As the news keeps giving us images of violence and racism in England, my dad decides that to escape racism, he is going to move, and he moves us to America. So, in America, I have grown up to be, among other things, a dark-skinned woman married to a nice Jewish boy from Chicago. So I've always assumed a happy multicultural future, Diwali and Hanukkah, latkes and samosas, double the culture, double the fun. I took that for granted until last summer. We were at the beach in Delaware, and our children were making a big hole in the sand with their father. So I take a boogie board and I go out into the ocean, and I find myself about 2 feet behind a young man, maybe 19, 20 years old. And I hear something that he says to a girl next to him. "Hey, Rachel, are you a Jew?" "Nah," she says. "Well, that's good." Then he says, "I just hit those 2 hijabis down there." And I look to where he's looking, and I see these girls in headscarves. They are only middle school age. The next wave carries me back to shore, but knocks that young man down. I quickly join my family and I stand in front of my children. I see the man getting out. He is angry, he is red, and he is walking in my direction. I turn around and look at my children. They are dark-skinned and kind of Jewish. And for the first time, I have a thought that I have never had in my life. Because of their 2 cultures and their 2 lives, are they subject to twice the hate, twice the harm? I am frightened. I look at the man, he's getting closer still, and my breath, it just starts catching in my throat. I am thinking of my father. Next September, he will be 75 years old. He has had a brain tumor operated on twice. His hands shake a lot. He cannot take the wasps out anymore. I look at the man getting closer to me, and I realize I can, and I am ready.